Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. If you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. Also, leave a comment and a like. It helps me out. Appreciate it very much. And let's get into today's video. So for today's video, I wanted to do something a little bit different. It came to me out of freaking nowhere, but when it came to me, I was like, that is brilliant. I need to do that. And so here we are. This video is a theme. Obviously you already know because you saw the title, but the video is about books Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec would read if she was to shop my bookshelves. Now I honestly have way more than what I'm going to show you because I feel like I know her well. Now the show's been off the air for quite a while, but for me, it's still one of my all-time favorite shows. I mean, it's up there with Friends, okay? And Friends is never getting kicked off the throne. I have watched the show from season 1 to the end. I can't even tell you how many times. So I thought it would be fun to pretend that Leslie Knope came over to my house and she's looking for some books to read. What books do I think she would pick off my shelf? So let's go, shall we? And so I think we're gonna start off a little bit easy. There's some hard-hitting books in here, but I really feel like she would pick these books. So we're gonna start easy here. And the first book I think would stand out to her is 33 Things Every Girl Should Know About Women's History. And from the suffragettes to the skirt lengths to the ERA by Tonya Bolden. Okay. So I ordered this book and I feel like this book was not advertised properly because I thought it was going to be something that it wasn't. However, it's geared towards young girls, I would say. This is a good book for young girls to read about things that have happened with women in history. Now, why do I think Leslie Knope would like this book? Because Leslie Knope is a feminist. Of course she would want to read about this book. It covers so many parts of history that are so many interesting things that have happened in history, from like the vote, Eleanor Roosevelt in here. I mean, you know how much she loves Eleanor Roosevelt. So, I mean, she would be sold on that alone. There's information about this Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, the ERA, Rosa Parks, and, you know, the women going to work during World War II when all the guys were overseas and women start going to work in the factories and making their own way. And this covers basically a lot of things that have happened in history and a lot of things that are maybe forgotten. There's a lot of emphasis on why it's important for women to vote and what it was like to not be able to vote and the things that women went through to secure the vote. So I feel like she would go for this book. I feel like she would definitely want to read this. I mean, Eleanor Roosevelt's mentioned in there. That's good enough for her. So the next book that I think Leslie Knope would definitely want to read is something a little bit lighter, good romance. Like, you know, she needs something to unwind to. She's had a busy day. She just got jammed. So she just needs to take her mind off things. You know what I'm saying? And for that, I'm going to say she's going to pick Red, White, and Royal Blue by Mquiston. Why would she pick this book? It has everything she likes. Remember the scandal with the penguins? And then she became like the spokeswoman at that gay bar. She's down, man. So anyways, for those of you who don't know, this book is about the son of the President of the United States, the Prince of England, soon to be King of England. So Alex and Henry. So Alex and Henry don't really get along. They don't see eye to eye. There's lots of tabloids out on this. And so first of all, getting ahead of myself. This book takes place after the 2016 election, and we get a female president who is of Hispanic descent. So, I mean, there's a lot of representation in this book. He's gay, Henry's bi. I mean, it's everything. And then it's a lead up to the 2020 election in an alternate universe, obviously, where the president's up for re-election and he's finding out that he's falling in love with the Prince of England. And it's really a cute book. It's really a lot of fun. There's a lot of representation. I think it hits everything that Leslie Knope needs, you know, to unwind. Maybe Anne can't answer the phone because she's busy up in Michigan. So Leslie's got this book to go with. So yeah, you see what I did there. I know where Anne moved to. Anne moved away. Remember? She needs something to help her unwind because she just got jammed. So So the next book I'm going to go with is a historical biography. And once again, it's going back to the whole feminism thing, because that was a very strong part of Leslie's character. And I think if she saw this book on my shelf, she would just grab it, and I probably would never get it back. And that is Marie Antoinette by Antonia Fraser. So if you've seen the movie Marie Antoinette by Sofia Coppola, then this is what the movie was based off of. So Marie Antoinette is a very misunderstood woman. She was the victim of a lot of slander, a lot of gossip. She probably was the equivalent of, I don't know, maybe Kim Kardashian. Marie Antoinette was engaged to the Dauphin of France. They grew up. She became the Queen of France, and they were too young to rule, and they didn't know what they were doing, and they squandered so much money, put France into this economic turmoil. France was pissed off and looking for some people, and lo and behold, she loses her head, along with many, many people, which that part isn't really, it's not so much about that, though the second half is about her incarceration. And there's actually something I didn't know, was how close Marie Antoinette actually got to escaping being executed. And there's just a lot of information. It's very dense, but it's not difficult to get through. She does a very good job of keeping you engaged and keeping you interested, and it's not just like a bunch of dates and stuff. It's her life. It's day-to-day life at Versailles. It's everything. So I feel like Leslie Knope would really appreciate reading a book about someone who's maybe misconstrued a little bit, you know, because there's times in her tenure at the Parks Department where, you know, people didn't necessarily have a favorable opinion of her. Maybe they kind of fell victim to some gossip and they didn't really know. And I feel like she could relate to that. So I feel like this would be a very good book that would resonate with Leslie Knope. Okay, which one am I gonna go for next? Okay, so the next books I have, they're not the most chipper and cheerful of books, but I feel like the message is there. The strong female characters are, you know, is what would draw Leslie to these books. So I'm gonna give Leslie, because I know she likes Harry Potter. She's a Harry Potter girl. So I feel like she might maybe want to branch out into some more different kinds of fantasy novels. And for her, I'm going to give her The Poppy War by Rf Quang. Now, this book's been around a minute, so a lot of you probably know what it's about, but it's a fantasy novel, strong female character. It's based off the rape of Nanking in China, and there's a lot of trigger warnings in this book. There's a lot of violent scenes. Like, if you know anything about Nanking, it ain't good. There's genocide, violence, all sorts of stuff. That it's an adult fantasy novel, and it's a trilogy. So I only brought the first one because these books are beasts. She's from a poor family, and she gets picked to go to this school where she becomes a warrior, and then the war breaks out, and it's just all about that. And obviously the Poppy War is in reference to poppies, aka heroin. So there's a lot of dark topics in here, but it's really good. And I feel like there are times when Leslie Knope is just kind of morose. She might be kind of bummed out. Maybe JJ's Diner is out of waffles. I don't know. Maybe the waffle mix got contaminated and there's just no waffles. And that's just a bummer. So I guess, you know, she's going to have to read the Poppy War to soothe herself. So I feel like she would want to read this book. I feel like she would see this book and be like, ooh, what's that about? The next book I'm going to go with is a collection of essays by Roxanne Gay, and it's not that bad. I feel like I don't have a copy of Bad Feminist, and if I had a copy of Bad Feminist, I probably would have picked that one, but I don't. And since she's looking at physical books on my shelf, this is the one we're going to have to go with. But this is an anthology about culture, you know, street harassment, refugee crisis, pandemic, you know, and a wide range of topics based off of that, you know, a lot of gaslighting that people do. The premise of it is not that bad. Like, it's something people say, well, it could be worse. It's not that bad. Is it that bad? You know, when you're telling about somebody who maybe harassed you on the street and someone kind of gaslights you, it wasn't that bad, was it? This is what this book is about. Now, there's a lot of trigger warnings in here for a lot of obvious things that, but Leslie's down. Like, she's down with the social justice stuff. So I feel like if she saw this book, she would want to read it. I find it to be, it's a book I would encourage a lot of young women to read, just so that they can learn to use their voice when it comes to things of this nature, especially things like street harassment. I feel like that is something that a lot of women need to learn to use their voice on, because it's never okay. And it's good that there's a book that lays it out into this whole, no, it's not okay. And no, it's not okay that they do it. And yes, it is that bad. And no, you shouldn't be subjected to stuff like this. So I find that this book is very important. Is it the easiest book to read? Of course not. But should you read it? Just because a book's not easy to read doesn't mean you don't read it. Just know that it's difficult to read. So anyways, Not That Bad by Roxanne Gay. Definitely on her list. Maybe after a night of drinking and going to the pawn shop and getting a tattoo. Did she ever get that tattoo? Remember the episode when she got recalled and she was at that tattoo parlor? And yeah, and Anne talked her out of it. Yeah, that was so funny. Okay, so the last book I have to show you is a book I feel like, this one's not as bad as the previous two, but it's still, you know, it's not the most cheerful of subjects. And that's The Four Winds by Kristin Hannah. We love Kristin Hannah in this house, but this book isn't particularly good because it covers the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression. And these are two subjects that need their time. And because it takes place around the same time Eleanor Roosevelt's doing her thing, I feel like she would be she would gravitate to this. Since she's such a fan of Eleanor Roosevelt, I feel like she would really appreciate a novel that takes place around that same period of time. This book covers a woman who marries into a family, and the husband essentially bounces, and she's left to take care of the family. And they live on a farm in Texas, and of course the Dust Bowl happens and they all migrate back over to California in hopes of better life. And it's just this, it's like trials and tribulations upon trials and tribulations, but it is the story that is the Dust Bowl and the Great Migration in the 1930s. And I'm a Steinbeck girl, so this book was, I appreciated this book. Is it The Grapes of Wrath? No. No. No book will ever be The Grapes of Wrath. Is it good? Definitely. I find that if you want to know stuff about the Dust Bowl and you can't quite get through The Grapes of Wrath or East of Eden, then this book would be for you. It's very informative. Is it completely historically accurate? I don't know. I don't know these parts. I don't know the exact things that were happening in Texas at that time, but the Dust Bowl itself is quite gripping. I found myself unable to put the book down during that whole era, and when people were getting sick and starving, and it was a lot. And just the trip alone to California was it was very grueling. It was intense. It was really intense to think about everything that people went through during that period of time. And I feel like Leslie Knope could really appreciate the struggles of Americans during this period. And so I feel like she would definitely want to check this book out for sure. So that is everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're fans of Park and Rec too, because I am. So I had fun doing this. Let me know if there's any characters you would like me to do a reading list on. If I don't know, you'll have to name me some shows. If I've seen them, I can do them. Tom Haverford. Do you think Tom Haverford would read? And if so, what do you think he would read? Oh man, I've already got a couple ideas. Okay, anyways, that is everything for me. I hope you all have a great evening, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.